Have you considered refinancing your mortgage but put it on hold waiting for interest rates to go lower? Well, in today's video, we're going to discuss 3 different things that could impact interest rates over the next couple of weeks, 2 months that may have you second guessing your decision. My name is Jeb Smith. I'm a real estate broker here in Southern California, and in today's video, we're going to talk about 3 different things that could impact interest rates over the next couple of weeks to months, and why you may consider refinancing or at least having that conversation with a mortgage broker now versus waiting to see what happens in the future. Those 3 things are going to be the adverse fee from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on every refinance. This is a fee that's going to impact every single refinance very, very soon. We're going to talk about that in more detail, along with the election. Unless you've been hiding under a rock for the last year and a half, you're fully aware that there is an election in about 2 months. We're going to talk about how that may impact interest rates, along with the Fed's decision today to keep interest rates near zero for the next few years. What does that really mean? How is that going to impact rates? We're going to talk about that today. But before we do, I want to ask a favor. If you're new to me, new to my channel, and you like topics like this, my channel is all about real estate, helping guide you through that process, whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or just trying to stay up to date. So do me a favor, if you like this stuff, hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you like the content. And if you have questions as you're going through it, something I say, something I didn't say, something you have a question about, comment below and I'll go back and address those. And so let's start today's video with talking about the adverse fee from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Now, if you've considered refinancing or have been in conversations with a mortgage broker or a banker, chances are you've heard of this fee. This is a fee that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are going to hit you with, if you will, on every single refinance above a loan amount of $125,000. Now, this came out a couple of weeks ago and it was an urgent message. I put out a release of a video how you should react quickly, and then Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac got a lot of grief from people in the industry and they delayed that fee. So they pushed it off until December 1st, essentially saying that no loans are going to be affected with that fee until December 1st. Well, some news has come out since then, and more or less what we've determined is that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have to have those mortgages received by December 1st so that they aren't affected by that fee, which, you know, in layman's terms means that any lender that you do a refinance with has to ship that loan to Fannie and Freddie a couple of weeks before that December 1st date, so that to make sure they receive it, so that the loans aren't impacted, by being late. So if we're saying a couple of weeks, we're talking beginning to mid-November. Now, as of today's video, we're middle of September. Today is September the 15th, maybe the 16th. I honestly don't know what day it is. That's how crazy my life is. But December, let's say it's September 15th. And most loans right now in today's market are taking somewhere between 45 and 60 days to close on a refinance. Now, that's typically longer than a purchase, which is normal, but it's typically longer than a normal refinance, and that's because all of these lenders are super backed up with loans. So if it's taking 45 to 60 days to close a loan, and today is the middle of September, then you really don't have a lot of time in order to get your paperwork to a lender and lock that loan so that you can avoid that 0.5% fee that's going to be added to your loan if you're refinancing. Now, understand that's a fee. It's not a 0.5% hit to the rate, but the fee does affect your rate. So chances are your rate will likely be affected or impacted somewhere around 1/8%. Now, 1/8% may not sound like a lot, but depending on your loan size, 1/8% could mean hundreds of dollars in some cases. So that's why it's important to have that conversation now. And in just a minute, I'm going to discuss when you should actually consider refinancing. I mean, what makes sense to refinance, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. I do want to get into the second thing that could impact rates in the very near term, and that is the election. Now, the election is at the beginning of November. And, the market's going to be pretty volatile back and forth until then. And rates will likely stay low until the election. But what happens if Trump loses? If President Trump loses, you don't know what to expect with regards to the market. We don't know how Biden feels about interest rates, about the housing market. And so when someone new comes into office and it's not the same old that we've been seeing the last 4 years, the market has the tendency to react to that, which could mean higher rates, could mean lower rates. We don't know. But the reality is, we don't know. And so that's why, if this is something that you've been considering, maybe you should do it before. Now, on the other hand, President Trump gets reelected, you'll likely see 4 years of similar style as to what we've seen the last 4 years, which likely means rates remaining low, housing probably doing something similar to what it's done. But again, we don't know what's going to happen in that election. It's a crazy year. There's a lot of unknowns at the moment. So if you're considering doing this, maybe you lock a loan before the election to secure that rate so that you don't have to worry about rates going up. And if they end up going lower, maybe you're in a position to potentially refinance again in the future if rates go way down. And the last thing is, the Fed came out today and said that they were going to keep the Fed funds rate at zero or near zero for more or less the foreseeable future. No rate hikes until 2023. So you're talking a good 2.5 years from now that rates will remain low. But they also said that inflation could be an issue. They expect, they like to keep inflation somewhere around 2%, and they said that they would allow it to more or less, creep up higher than they would like to see, because they want to keep rates low during, the economy coming back from the pandemic, and that they have no plans of raising the Fed funds rate until unemployment is basically back to normal, so on and so forth. But the thing to keep in mind is that as inflation does creep up, typically interest rates start to creep up as well. So if you do start to see a spike in inflation, chances are you're going to see some sort of spike in interest rates. It's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. But the thing to think about here is that, if it makes sense now, you may consider doing it versus waiting to see what happens. Now, for me, I refinanced a couple of months ago, as I mentioned in a video, and I told you the reasons that I did it. I'll link to that here if you want to check it out. But for me, the numbers made sense at that time. I was able to lower my monthly payment. I was able to go to a shorter term loan, and I was actually able to pull cash out all while my payment went down. That made a lot of sense to me. Now, and in addition to that, it didn't cost me a lot of money to do it. It only cost me a few $1,000 in fees in order to do it. So that made sense to me. But that's what you have to determine if you're considering refinancing. You need to look at the numbers and see what makes sense to you. How much is it costing you? How much does it take you, to recoup that cost based on the savings that you're receiving every month? Are you able to get a shorter term loan? What are your goals? These are things to think about. I'll link to another video here where I talk about that in more detail as well if you want to check that out. But that's, my topic for today. If you want to be connected to somebody that, can help you with refinance, that can guide you through that process, reach out. I'm happy to refer you. I'm a real estate professional. I'm not a mortgage professional. I get nothing out of this other than the benefit of educating you and helping guide you through that process, and that is why I'm doing these videos. So if you haven't already, do me a favor and subscribe. If you like this stuff, give us a thumbs up or give me a thumbs up, and reach out. Again, if you have questions, I'm here to help. Would love the opportunity. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. We'll see you again soon. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.